friends, it's Jordan and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be showing you all of the books I got for Christmas. I have my Meowie Christmas cat sweatshirt on, which is one of my favorite Christmas apparel items, and we're going to just talk about the books I got for Christmas. Some of these things are things that I really enjoyed this year. Others are things I'm excited about. I think most of these books I've actually already read. This is also kind of like my book haul for 2021, like in general, because I didn't really purchase anything at all in 2021. I wasn't reading really anything, and so I never felt the need to have to like replenish my book collection because I just felt very overwhelmed with what I had already owned. I bought 2 books last year. So kicking off the stack here is a book that I purchased for myself, and that is Forever Wild by K.A. Tucker. This is the kind of 3rd book, but it's also a novella. It's very, very short in the Wild Seasons series. So you have Wild Seasons, Wild at Heart, and then Forever Wild. This is kind of like a Christmas winter novella that transitions us from following Kala and Jonah to following another character, which we'll be following in the like 3rd full-length book. I'm so excited to own it and like have the whole collection. They're so pretty together. I mean, look at how like nature-y, so much wild nature, and I really am happy about this choice that I made. The other book that I purchased for myself was Legendborn by Tracy Deonn. This was our January book club pick last year, and it was my favorite book from book club last year. I didn't get it for Christmas, and I knew I needed to own a copy of it, so I immediately like went online the next day and purchased it because I knew I wanted to have it in my life. I'm so excited for the sequel. This is just such a fun YA story that feels very like cozy with all of like the same urban fantasy elements that we love about like YA urban fantasy, but we're following a Black main character. We're in a college setting. There's Arthurian legends. There's ancestral magic. It's just so much fun. I love the side characters. We have like a love triangle, but it's just like all done so well, and there's so much commentary on colonialism, and it's just like the best book that I read last year, and I knew I needed to have a copy of it. The next 2 books were gifts from Sam from Thoughts on Tomes. They're ironic because they're like book club books, and it just felt really perfect. So the first one is Jade City by Fonda Lee, which is one of our book club picks for 2022. So spoiler there, we'll be reading this at some point this year. It is really large. I'm very intimidated by this. I don't know anything about it. I think it's like an Asian-inspired fantasy. It's adult. People are obsessed with it. The 3rd book has been very hard to find because it's just like flying off the shelves. And I am intrigued. But like I said, I don't know anything about the actual plot. I am intimidated though. This is a large book. The other book that she picked out for me is actually our January book pick. So we're going to be reading this and talking about it very, very soon, and that is These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong. This has been all over BookTube and TikTok from what I believe. I don't really feel like I have a good pulse on like what is popular in the book net sphere anymore. Like I don't really know what are the things that are happening book-wise, but I have been told that this is like everywhere. So I'm very excited to read it. I think it's a Shanghai Chinese inspired Romeo and Juliet, maybe? Oh, 1920s in Shanghai. Excited to read this. I've heard like a lot of really positive buzz about it. I still do enjoy my YA fantasy, urban fantasy. So I think that this will be something that I really enjoy, and I'm excited to read it. I was literally squealing when I opened this box from Sam. She did good things. She did good things. The other books here that I have are books that I got for Christmas from my mother. She is also a big reader, and she picked out a lot of books that I would say she's probably also read. Yeah, there's a good number here that she's also read. I'm excited about the stack that I have here. I think it's a good mix of things I've read and things I have to read. The first one is 10 Blind Dates by Ashley Elston. This is one of my favorite Christmas books. I read this a few years ago, and I've always wanted a copy for myself because I just really love this book. We're following our main character, Sophie, who at the beginning of the book is broken up with by this boy that she really likes. He turns her down, and then she has to go to Louisiana to visit her family for Christmas, and they're devastated that this boy, like, how dare he turn her down. So they start to arrange blind dates for her with people in their community, and she gets to go out on all of these like really fun Christmas dates. Some are really cute and sweet, and some are very cringeworthy. And make you a little uncomfortable, but you know what? It's just so much fun, and I really enjoyed this. And I know that there's like a sequel or a companion that came out with this, and I haven't read it yet, but I really want to because I just really enjoyed this. Next, she picked me up A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J. Maas. This one is the 4th full-length novel in the Court of Thorns and Roses series. There's also like a novella thrown in there. One of my favorite series. I love Sarah J. Maas. I know she's like not great. She sits in my trash pocket and I can't stop reading her. Like, I wouldn't necessarily recommend her to people. It's the Nesta and Cassian story, and I adore Nesta and Cassian. I was so hyped when she announced this book, and then we had to wait a lot of years before we got it, and it did not disappoint. It did not disappoint. Next, I have 2 books in the same series. One I've read and one I haven't. The first one is Sight Witch, and the other one is Witch Shadow. This is the novella and then the 4th full-length novel in the Witchland series. I have read up through Sight Witch. So I think Sight Witch came out after Wind Witch, so it's like 2.3. Yeah, because I haven't read Blood Witch. So I read up through Sight Witch, and then I didn't ever continue because I have really enjoyed the series so far, and I know that people who like love this series, and I was really enjoying it when I was reading it. I just really need to get back into it. It's another YA fantasy, very complex world, a lot of political things, a lot of magic, a lot of different kinds of witches, very complex interpersonal dynamics too. And I know that the story has like changed a lot from the first couple of books. I think Susan did a complete overhaul of the story and like where she was taking the characters after book 1 or 2 came out, because she felt that it was going in a place that she wasn't going to be proud of or happy with. So I think it's like totally different from what I've experienced with it, because I've only read like through book 2, but I'm excited to continue. I really like these characters. It's such a fun world. Next, we have A Vow So Bold and Deadly, which is the 3rd book in, what's the series called? The Curse Breakers? Yeah, Curse Breaker series. This is by Bridget Kemmerer. This is another one of my favorite YA urban fantasies. It started off as a Beauty and the Beast retelling, and then it's kind of expanded on from there. The first book is a pretty tried and true Beauty and the Beast retelling. You can really see the influences of Beauty and the Beast in the first one. Our main character Harper, who witnesses an abduction taking place in DC, and she intervenes and then ends up being the one abducted instead and gets whisked off to this fantasy world where there's a prince under a curse and he's being turned into a monster, and he has to wed on this like last cycle or he will forever be a monster and his kingdom will forever be in ruin, and she's his last chance and she's really not interested, and it's so much fun. I love this series too, so like I can't wait to finish it. This is the conclusion, and I haven't read it yet. I've started this one a few times, I just haven't continued with it. I don't know why. It's going to be a good time. The second to last book on my stack here is Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This was another book club pick. I didn't love this as much as Evelyn or Daisy Jones, but it's kind of just like a series at this point in my mind. Like the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s. This one takes place in the 80s. She's writing a 90s book, which I can't wait for. And then there is a character or a few characters running through the whole of it to kind of tie them all together. And you really start to see those connections come forward in here, and not my favorite, but still a really good time. Happy to have it on my shelf. It's so pretty, and it's gonna look so good with Daisy Jones, and I think Evelyn is hanging out back here. And the last book on my list I have not read, Chain of Iron by Cassandra Clare. I had to make sure I said the right title. This is the second book in the Last Hour series. I have not read this because it is very, very long. I really enjoyed the other one. We read that in 2020 for book club, and that was a fun time to read together. I really enjoyed that experience, and I've always intended to continue, and I don't know why I haven't. Actually, I do, because it's a big book, and last year was not the year for reading, but this year I'm going to bring it back. Oh, it's for Rick Riordan. Thanks for letting me use the noble name D'Angelo. That's like the second time that she's thanked Rick Riordan, isn't it? I think another book she thanks him for using the word madness. So many characters, so many love triangles, so much romance, so much pining and angst in this series. Historical fantasy from the Shadowhunters world. It takes place like at the turn of the century in Edwardian London. Trash children, trash series. trash pocket for sure. Cannot wait to read this. Did she borrow Madness from somebody else? Like, I swear she also did that. Or did Rick Riordan borrow Madness from her? To Cassandra Clare, thanks for letting me share the excellent name Magnus. That makes me very happy. I don't know why. Anyway, those are all the books that I got for Christmas / all of 2022. I'd love to know if you've read any of these books, or if you've got any of these books recently, what you thought of them. Anything that you got for Christmas that you're really excited about, books-wise, or maybe not even books-wise. If you want to find me on Instagram or Twitter, my handles are on the screen here. Please come talk to me and be my friend, and let's chat about books and media and movies and all the things. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll talk to you soon. Bye!